Good evening, good evening, good evening, everyone. Good evening. How y'all doing today? And welcome to Walking Through the Fire. Happy Thursday. I like to say it is Friday Eve. Happy Friday Eve. That's what I say to myself to help me get from Wednesday to Friday. Let me know I only got one more day. One more day. When you come in the room, please let me know who's here so I can give you a shout out because I appreciate you supporting Walking Through the Fire and coming to the community. Come into the community. We are here to help one another. All right. When you come in, please comment, like, share, subscribe to the channel. Hey, you are the reason we're here. You are the reason we do what we do every Thursday at 7:30. So welcome. Make sure you tag somebody and let them know we're going to have a good conversation tonight. Let's see. We're going to give it a couple of more minutes, guys, and we just going to jump right in. Yes, we just gonna jump right in. Make sure anytime throughout this live that if you got any questions, comments, make sure you put it on the screen. Make sure you let me know what you're thinking, how you moving, how you what. Again, your comments, your engagement is what pushes this show, pushes this live out into the YouTube algorithm so it can reach more people. That's what it is. When you come and you bring somebody else, then they bring somebody else, and then they bring somebody else before you know it. Listen, this community is in the hundreds, All right. I can't type today, y'all. I can't type today. All right. Again, like I stated, welcome to Walking Through the Fire, guys. I am your host, Crystal Majors, and you are visiting a platform where we have real conversations with real people talking about real life issues using our real experiences. So everything is real over here. Everything is real over here. Again, how y'all been doing today? I pray that your day has been blessed. Again, like I always say, if you've had some trouble in my way, if you had some trouble on today, that's all right. God still got time to work. You hear me? We are the only ones that can't get done what we need to do in 24 hours, but we serve a God that can do and be everywhere all at the same time and answer us all at the same time. He meets us at our needs. Tonight's conversation, if you've seen the post or the flyers that have gone out, is watch your tone. So, Crystal, you say, why watch your tone? I thought it was important that I continue a conversation that we have been having at New Unity Church in our Tuesday teaching, which is our Bible study every Tuesday at 6:30. I'm telling y'all, come. Bishop allows us to ask questions no matter what it is, and we are going to find out the truth through the Word of God, using our real life experiences and then helping each other. And so we've been talking about communication, kind of tagged along with emotional connection. Because some of us, if we are honest, our communication ain't the best. Some of us don't have communication skills at all. And when we don't have those type of skills, it makes our relationship strained sometimes. It causes people to misunderstand you. So if you're one that you say, I'm always misunderstood, or when I'm talking, my point is never heard, or they don't listen to me, or are you one that when you're talking, you go from 0 to 100? I used to be like that. Are you one that you talk or you communicate just to respond? You don't, or are you one that every word is a cuss word, or every word you're yelling, and so you tend to not get your point across? This is for you tonight. I'm gonna put some, as we say, put some meat on your brain tonight. I want you to think about some things, because again, we're here to help each other get to our next. And sometimes we mishandle people with our words. It's not always our actions. Somebody do something to us via our actions. A lot of times we kill relationships. We kill opportunities. We kill possibilities with our communication. With our communication. And one, I'm always going to go to word. And the Lord says, don't let corrupt communication come out of your mouth. Don't let it come out of your mouth. So the first thing I want to do is I want you to think about, and I want you to respond. Okay. I want you to put in the comment if this is you. There are several communication styles that I'm going to give you this evening. And I want you to truly be honest with yourself and say, that's my communication style. And I truly believe that once you understand the way you communicate and the form you communicate, you are going to be conscious of the conversations you have and how you communicate. I guarantee you, once you start being aware of you and how you deliver and how you respond, I promise you things will start changing around you. My favorite motto is, and anybody that knows me for years, decades, I've always said, conversation rules the nation. And because if you can conversate with people, the word says the Lord will make room for your gifts. If you're able to talk to people where they're at, whether you can hold a conversation with a Fortune 500 company person, or whether you can hold a conversation with the man that's working at the gas station. If you can bridge those gaps, sky's the limit. If you're able to properly articulate how you feel, what you want, what you need, I guarantee you, there are some roads in your relationships, whether they are intimate or platonic, meaning friendship wise. I'm telling you, you're going to see the growth, not only in you, not only how you handle things, and especially how things affect you, but you will be able to nurture and grow your different relationships. I know one, we put on a face, and you can't say we don't. We have different faces that we wear. We have a face that we have that we use when we're at home, and then we have a face that we use when we out in our respective professions. Okay, I know. Crystal, what do you mean? I put on my uh 1-800 telemarketing voice when I'm at work. But when I'm at home, my communication, my articulation starts to get a little bit laxed. Okay. And if you know what I mean. So the communication styles I want to put out there is an assertive. And an assertive person is someone that when they communicate to you, they are clear, direct, but they don't dismiss how you feel. They take your feelings into account. They don't belittle you. They take your side into consideration. They take your feelings into consideration. They just don't come in like a bulldozer. They make sure that there's no room for misunderstandings. Is that you when you're talking? And I'm talking about not this is your communication style sometimes. I want you to put yourself in that communication style when you know this is something that you operate in constantly. The next one is passive. Do you avoid conflict? You don't like to have difficult conversations, so you just, whatever you want to do, I'm with it. Whatever somebody suggests, you don't have your own opinion. You a people pleaser. Is that you today? Do you go along to get along? If so, you're passive. The next one is aggressive. And I know we all know somebody like that. Remember in the beginning when I talked about that person that go from 0 to 100? I guarantee you their communication style is aggressive. They hostile, they forceful, and I know something about that. Why? Because we talking real. We're talking about real experiences so that we can help each other get through our real issues. I was that aggressive type of person. I was that person that said, and I know I ain't by myself. If this is you, say, this is me. Well, it's the truth. Somebody got to say it. So why not me? That was my mentality. That was my perspective on it. That you know what? I don't care about your feelings. I don't care if you cry. I don't care how I make you feel. Because you're going to respect me for telling the truth. But is that the honest? Because sometimes, as we know, the truth hurts. Sometimes people don't want to hear the truth, even when they know the truth. So do they really respect you after you tell them the truth? It's a rhetorical question, something that just make you say Arsenio Hall. I'm sorry, millennials, you may not know anything about Arsenio Hall. He was a late night talk show host that would sit on his couch and say things that make you think. That make you say, The fourth one is passive aggressive. And that's being indirectly negative, meaning you put on a good face like, yeah, I'm with that. I agree. Yeah. But then as soon as the meeting is over, you telling somebody, well, I ain't agree with that. I don't know why we doing that. How is that going to work? But yet you didn't voice your opinion while you were in the meeting, while you were in the situation. But you tell your girlfriend or you tell your homeboy everything that you really was thinking and everything that you wanted to say. That's being passive aggressive. You get along, you go along to get along for the meantime, in between time, but behind closed doors, you really ain't in covenant. You really ain't in agreement with what's going on. And then the fifth one that we talked about as well was manipulation. Ooh, I'm going to tell y'all about that because that came up Tuesday, because you're not going to admit that you have a manipulative communication style. But I'm here to bust your bubble. Men, women, you have used manipulation for your communication style. That might not be one that you sit in. That may not be one that you operate in every day, all day, and that's your normal tendency. That's your normal pattern. But you've done it. You say, Chris, how you did? So, for example, we talked about in Tuesday service, Bible study, the bishop asked, do people operate in manipulative communication? Because it's all about you're communicating to get what you want. Forget the other person. It's about what you want. So you're going to say whatever you need to say to get what you want from that person. Okay, I know. Just put a finger up. Put a finger up and just say ouch and keep it moving. Or just say amen. And I know I'm hitting in the right place. I know I'm down your street knocking on your door. And so the question was, when people are being manipulated, do they know? I had to grab the microphone and tell Bishop, no. Why would the manipulator let the manipulate, I don't even know if that's a word, the person being manipulated, no, then the manipulation wouldn't work. And another good word to plug into manipulation is being used. I know everybody, whether it's been a friend, a co-worker, your boss, your spouse, your partner, at one point in life, you felt like you were being used. You felt like you weren't getting what you deserved, your due just. But yeah, when you manipulate to get what you want, the other person don't know or else it wouldn't work. But I want you to do you operate in manipulation sometimes to get what you want? My married people, do you operate in manipulation to get your wife to go or do what you want? Wives, do you manipulate your husband? Say, let me clean up the house. Let me cook dinner because I want to smooth him over. I want to ease him over, break him down. I want to soften him up so I can ask him, can he buy me a pair of shoes? Can we go on a trip? That's manipulation, however you slice that pie. Didn't say it was good or bad manipulation, but it's manipulation. So do you see yourself in one of those communication styles? And another thing that I want to tie into communication is how we talk, our tone. So the title for today is Watch Your Tone. I know when you were younger, and maybe for some of us, you didn't have to go through that or you didn't have to experience it. But at some point, I can remember, because I grew up in an era where you spoke when you were spoken to, you stayed out of grown folks' business, and you responded like a child and not an adult. We kind of didn't lost our way, but that's the generation I came from. So when I was speaking and getting beside myself or out of pocket, as we want to call it, with our children, and they respond in a way we like, well, wait a minute. Who you talking to? You better watch your tone. It is the deliverance. And let me ask you, when you had to tell somebody, you better watch your tone, you better watch how you talking to me, did you hear anything that they were saying? Probably not. All you heard was, oh, they coming at me sideways. It was the tone. It wasn't the words. So you know the famous thing what we say sometimes, it ain't what you say, it's how you say it. And I'm a witness on tonight. I am a true witness about my delivery in my 20s and probably mid 30s, baby. It was bad. It was bad. I can honestly admit that I probably thought I was a good communicator, and I ain't saying I wasn't, because when I say communicating, mean I could articulate how I felt. I could articulate what I wanted. I could articulate that you weren't giving me my due justice or my deserve. I'm a great advocate for myself. The issue is, how am I advocating? What is my tone when I'm advocating? That's probably why I got put off 3 floors when I was in the hospital with my surgery. And y'all, if y'all don't know that story, we might revisit that. Or 2 floors. We might revisit that another day, but you can also catch that on my YouTube channel. Just go through. I did a vlog of my journey when I had my issues, and I made it clear that I got put off several floors. Why? because I was advocating for myself, but it was the way I was advocating and they didn't like it. But too bad, so sad on that one. But it took me a minute to understand because, like I said, I was one of those, why are they misunderstanding me? Why can't we have a conversation before it turned left about, well, you did this when I know I ain't by myself. I know I'm all over the place, but while I'm talking, I'm just thinking about my experiences. And I know, yes, he is. God is a deliverer. Thank you so much, brother. Thank you. Because I know it is my delivery. But I had I was asking myself, well, why? I'm telling the truth. I'm coming with facts, but my point would be missed. My delivery was so bad, they heard nothing of what I was saying. All they heard was the aggression, my communication style. Remember, I told you, I went from aggressive to assertive. I wish they had something like aggressive assertive, because I think I was like both of those, but that ain't one. I just made that up. But I was aggressive, and then I transitioned in my maturity to assertive. And depending on what it is, I could even slide into that passive role. I know it's unbelievable. I know those that know me, but I know that I can operate in that vein. Guy's offspring says sometimes it's not what you say, but how you say it. That's absolutely right. And so let's talk about tone tonight. Because the next time you speak to somebody when you're having a difficult conversation, the next time you are speaking with someone and you are trying to articulate and try to get them to understand how something or somebody is making you feel, I want you to take this in mind so that we can help each other make sure that when we have a conversation, that your point is getting across. And the person that you're talking to is not automatically defensive. Because listen, tone is crucial in communication because it sets emotional context for the message and influences, listen to what I'm telling you. It influences others how to interpret what you're saying and the intent behind it. Did you hear me? It sets the tone in your voice, and when you speak, sets the emotional context for the message and the influence, your message that you're trying to get across, on how the person that is receiving it, they receive the content of it and the intent behind it. Example, if I have employees, so if I call an employee in my office and I want to talk to them about some behavior that I've been seeing that is not appropriate for the workplace, okay, they come in my office and I say, hey, I want to talk to you about some behaviors that I've noticed and people have brought to my attention. And so I want to know what's going on. Right there. Is that going to make you defensive? Or is that going to break the walls down? Talk to me tonight. Engage with me. Me saying it that way, is that going to make you automatically be defensive? Or is that going to make you say, okay, I want to sit down and listen to what you're saying? Or the tone I use now is, hey, can I talk to you about some behaviors I've noticed and that have been brought to my attention, and so that are inappropriate? So I want to talk to you about what's going on. You see the difference? What they say, you can kill more bees with honey than you can with, you know. You know the other part of that. Thank you guys, Offspring, for your engagement on this evening. It will make you defensive. And once what they, I'm gonna talk to you where we at, because some people, what they say now in 2026, keep that same energy. So the energy is the tone that you use when you communicate. You got to watch your energy. Because if you come into a situation where you have to have a difficult conversation or say that there is a conflict that need to be resolved between you and somebody else, another party, so which means that when we go into this conversation, when we go into this meeting, you and I are already coming into it in defense. Let me put a pin right here. Anytime you have to have a difficult conversation, anytime you want to tell someone about the things that they are doing that are not being of value in your life, benefiting you, or how it's harming you, I want you to make sure that you pray. You pray. And because a lot of times, and I know I'm right about it, you can go in with the energy of, I want to resolve this. I'm going to say I'm sorry no matter what it is. I just want to rectify the division. I want to mend the relationship. And so I'll do whatever I need to do and come into this meeting or this conversation with a positive attitude. But when they walk in the door, you can smell and see the stench before they even sit down. You can feel the energy that they have before they even sit down. And so all it takes is for somebody not to match your energy. And here you are trying to be the bigger person, as we say, be the bigger person. And they still operating in the little person, and they want to talk out the side of their neck. They want to go from 0 to 100. They want to talk crazy to you. You got to keep your composure. You got to keep your composure. You can't match tone for tone. Why? Because that will be the end of that meeting. Meaning, the whole reason to come in there is to have a cool, calm, and collect conversation where both of you are able to articulate what you're trying to say so that you can have a positive and a reinforcing conversation where things are getting resolved. And it's not a blame game, or it's not a, well, you did this, well, I did this, well, you did this, and nobody is hearing each other. Why? Because that emotional connection that we done tied into it. Tone can bring a positive emotion in a conversation or a negative emotion. So which one do you want? So remember, if you're that aggressive type of communicator, watch your tone. If you're that passive communicator, watch your tone. Because sometimes your passiveness can be misconstrued as nonchalant. And if I know me. If I'm one that I'm passionate about something that I feel like I really need you to understand where I'm coming from, but you sitting there like it ain't no sweat off your back, like you really don't want to hear it, it just is what it is, that type of passive attitude, oh, that'll cause somebody to be defensive. That'll cause somebody from going assertive to aggressive. But one key thing that we learn when we grow and mature, it's not what people do to you, it's what you do to them. It's what you do to them. Just because somebody else pop off, just because somebody else clap back, just because somebody's energy is off and they coming to you wrong, don't mean you got to match energy for energy. You not matching somebody's energy can de-escalate a conflict. You want to know why? Because can't nobody argue by themselves. Oh, I know I said something there. You can't argue by yourself. And if you do, let me know how that works. Let me know how that works. If you arguing by yourself. And if you are, you're going to get real tired of that. Because people that like to argue, people that like conflict, people that carry that energy, they want you to match it. They want you to go back and forth. So watch your tone. And like I stated, your tone, when it's positive, can foster trust and understanding and respect. You heard what I said. And respect and respect for the other person. Your tone can have you mishandling somebody. The word says life and death lies in the power of the tongue. I'm going to say life and death lies in the power of the tone as well as the tongue. We had a comment said Proverbs 15:1 says a soft answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. So again, thank you, guys, offspring. Remember I said you come into it with the mind frame and the mindset of resolution, reconciliation. But the other person may not be on that time. They may not be on resolution and reconciliation. And so the word, what I just read, Proverbs 15:1 says, a harsh word, not words. It just take one word to stir up anger. And that's the human side of us. So don't think I'm sitting here before you tonight saying, oh, you shouldn't be angry because somebody is talking to you sideways. No, I'm telling you that don't meet a harsh word for a harsh word. Meet that harsh word with a soft response. And I guarantee you, the person, that demon, that spirit, because see, it ain't the person, it's the spirit that they carry. I'm going to say that again for the people in the back. It's not the person, it's the spirit they carry. Because see, we're not fighting against flesh and blood, but of spirits and principalities in high places. It's the things, the spirit realm that you can't see. That thing that's going on inside of that person that's causing them to have that negative energy. So I want to talk about some bad communication styles when it comes to tone. And the first one is that hostility. When we talked about being aggressive and confrontational. I know you know somebody that's confrontational. Every time you want to have a conversation, they just want to argue. They don't never want to sit down and have a grown conversation. But them be the main people talking about, I don't know why they didn't come to me. We can have a grown conversation. But what is your communication style? Do you operate in knowing when to hold them and when to fold them? Because even Jesus got upset. Even Jesus raised his voice in the temple when he turned over the tables because they were making a mockery of the temple. Even he got angry. So being hostile and confrontational, you can't talk to a fool. Being confrontational will put somebody on the attack and make them defensive. Again, just imagine how you feel when somebody comes to you with that energy and using that tone and what you say and how you react. So be mindful that when you're communicating, if you're using a hostile tone, you're making the other person feel exactly how you feel when somebody's doing it to you. I don't think we think about that. All we say is, that ain't never me. Don't say never. Just be aware. Because soon as you say, I'll never do, that's when the Lord says, okay, you said you'll never do. Here you go. Here you go. And so I want to give you an example when I talk about these bad tones in communication. I came up with, I thought you was grown. Why I got to keep saying the same thing over and over again? Why I got to keep saying the same thing over and over again? That's being hostile. Okay. Y'all ain't got to say nothing. Y'all ain't got to say not one word. I know. I know it's you, but that's okay. Because we going to help you, my sister and my brother. The next one is dismissive. Now, y'all, because I'm a communicator, I can't stand nobody that's dismissive, especially when I'm trying to tell you how I feel. Woo! That make me feel like you ignore me. Being dismissive makes the person feel like you ignoring them. Like they feelings don't matter. Being dismissive is belittling how I feel. You know, I tell people in relationships and even people in relationships, marriages, whatever, because I've been both in relationships and marriages. And it's one of those, if your friend, your family, your partner, if they come to you and say, I feel like you are doing XYZ and I don't like it. Don't just be like, oh, well, if they say it's a problem for them and you value the friendship, you value the relationship, you say you love this person, or because if you my friend, I love you. I love you if you my brother and sister and you don't kick your feet up at my table. But if you say that you are connected to me, you're in covenant with me. If I tell you that something is hurting me, that I don't like how you're treating me, but you sit here and say, well, I don't see that. I don't see it's a problem. Well, that's the problem. I want you, even though it may not be a problem for you, recognize it's a problem for the other person and make a conscious effort to turn it around. Make a conscious effort not to speak that way in that tone. Make a conscious effort to make sure that whatever this person is saying to me, that I won't do it to them again. Being dismissive can put a wedge in your relationship. Being dismissive can have me not sharing something with you. So if we're in a relationship and every time I come to you, you make me feel like my feelings don't matter. You tell me, well, I don't belittling. Well, I don't know why you feel like that. Or this is the key right here. I got 3 people. Let me know. Well, just get over it. Why you still feel like that? I said I was sorry. Well, just because you said you were sorry, what you did or what you said ain't supposed to affect me. The devil is a lie. The devil is a lie. So make sure that when you're having a conversation, and I think especially when it's conversations that we don't want to have, or it's conversations that people are telling us what we are doing wrong, those are conversations that I used to hate having because I could never get through to the person and say, hey, I don't like how you talk to me when we were into it or when we were having a heated discussion. And it would be, well, you said it first. Well, when I tried to talk to you last month, you wasn't sitting there with no calm attitude. That right there, that irks me. I don't know about you. You will never have a conversation getting anywhere. But that's where the dismissiveness seems to show up a lot more when we have conversations that we are uncomfortable in, difficult conversations where somebody is telling you what is wrong. But why would you want to be connected with somebody that can't tell you when you've done something to harm them? Whether it's in word, deed, I can't say thought because you don't know what they thinking, but word or deed. The next one is another bad tone is being sarcastic. I know, honey, we can all get that sarcastic tone going on, especially when they say we use it, using irony to mock or to convey contempt, often resulting in somebody being confused. Forget confusion. Sarcastic means, for me, is you being blunt, but you trying to be funny. You at what they say, you trying to play in my face. You being sarcastic. Like you say something that you know is hurtful, but then you be like, well, I'm just saying, I'm just, try to put a laugh behind it. Now you being sarcastic. And the example is when you having a conversation with somebody, you say, see, that's what I'm talking about. Not see, that's what I'm talking about good. But see my tone. I want you to hear the tone when I say it. See, that's what I'm talking about. That's why it didn't work. And you didn't ask for no, you ain't asked nobody for no help. That's being sarcastic. Yeah. Do you know somebody like that? Is it you? Is it you? Is it you? Do you have, just listening to this, a hostile, a dismissive, or sarcastic tone to your voice and your communication when you're talking to people? Impatient. That's me. When I tell you I see myself in this, being impatient, showing like you annoyed, you frustrated, especially when somebody is slow to understand or respond. I'm asking you a question, but you act like you don't hear me. And it's like, what? You don't hear me talking to you? Because they didn't immediately respond. But the word says, be slow to speak and quick to hear. Sometimes we think being impatient on the other side is somebody being that dismissive, but sometimes it's somebody processing and they thinking about what they thinking about before they talk. Because a lot of times when we're in heated arguments, when we're in conflict, we're having difficult conversations, and that energy that we didn't bring in, or we're the one bringing that energy, we say stuff, and before you know it, we're vomiting at the mouth. We can't take some things back. And so impatient for me looks like interruption. Are you one that have a problem and you interrupt people while you talking? And it's not because I'm interrupting you because I don't want to have the conversation. It's not that I'm interrupting you and I didn't hear one word you said. My impatience is I don't like to have long drawn out conversations where you keep going around the mulberry bush. I like to be blunt. Let's tackle the real issue, not the one from yesterday, but the issue what brought us into this conversation. The issue of what has us in this conflict. The issue of what has a division in our household right now. That's what I want to focus on. I want to focus on the task at hand. And when you giving me all this fluff, I'm like, wait a minute. I don't want to hear the fluff. Get to the meat. And I've recognized, and I still, listen, I ain't been delivered from it. Am I getting better? Yes. But I'm recognizing how it's making other people feel. And can you imagine me being now we're talking about communication styles. I want you to see how this operates when you're dealing with other people with different communication styles than you. Can you imagine that aggressiveness coming out of me, that aggressive assertiveness? So not only am I being blunt and clear so there's no room for misunderstanding, but my tone is aggressive, hostile, and forceful. Can you imagine me talking to somebody that's passive? in that type of way and trying to have a conversation to resolve something. Now remember, passive is somebody that'll sit there because they avoid conflict. They don't like having difficult discussions. They don't like to they don't like confrontation. And sometimes the confrontation is not huge. It's just a disagreement. They don't want to have to work through the disagreement. They rather, can you imagine how somebody would feel leaving that conversation if you're one that you don't have that voice? You're not an advocate for yourself. You're one that you'll sit there and let things go on around you because you don't want to rock the boat. You don't want to get somebody upset. Could you imagine verbally abusing? That's what I call it, because I was a great verbal abuser, and sometimes verbal abuse is worse than physical. Sometimes you can talk so bad to somebody, you rather say, I just rather you just pulled my hair, which is insane. Comment from guys, I so dislike it when people interrupt me. Are you trying to say something? Makes it seem like what I'm saying is unimportant and what you want to say is more important. You're absolutely right. That dismissiveness that I talked about earlier. It makes it feel like everything you say, every thought you have, every suggestion you have, every feeling you have is null and void. It's not important. And so what happens? We're trying to have a serious conversation, but the other person misses our point totally because of our delivery. The last one I want to talk about when we talk about bad tone usage in communication styles is being overly critical. And that's when somebody focuses on all the mistakes, all your faults, and you discourage that constructive dialogue. You don't want to have it. Why? Because you bringing up all my faults. Kind of just like what I said earlier. I'm trying to have a conversation with you. John, we've got into, when I asked you to take out the trash and then help the kids with the homework, you told me you didn't have time for all that. And why can't I do it? Because I was just sitting down, not knowing I was sitting down doing some work for the kingdom. You just assumed because you saw me, I was sitting down. And what does John do? Well, when I was sitting down last week and I told you that the kids needed homework, you start talking crap, pulling out your faults, putting all kind of barriers and obstacles in your way or in your guys' way to have true constructive dialogue to come to a resolution. Overly critical. Do you know somebody like that? Now I want to get into what I know everybody under the sound of my voice. This is how you operate. Don't nobody have those hostile and dismissive and sarcastic and impatient characteristics. I know y'all don't. I'm helping somebody else. But just in case I'm helping you, let it fall where it may. But I want to talk about the good communication styles. I told you the bad. I want you to understand and see the good. So if you see yourself operating in these bad communication styles with bad tone and your point is being missed, you can't never have a decent conversation. I want you to know what good tone communication look like. The first one is being respectful. Everybody say, I said it respectful, or this is the kicker. With all due respect, ma'am, sir, when you say that, that's being sarcastic. That tells me, oh, you about to be disrespectful. With all due respect. That don't negate the fact that what's about to come out your mouth is crazy. That part right there. So being respectful, treating others with consideration, and valuing their input. Just like God's offspring says. when you interrupt somebody, when you are dismissive, it makes the other person seem like what they got to say don't matter. And so, what somebody can do that started out probably maybe being passive aggressive or being assertive, you tend to start shutting that person down. And then you wonder why y'all ain't even having communication at all now. Why? Because that person feels like, why should I say anything when they're not going to take my advice? They're not going to value my opinion. And when you're in a relationship, that is the worst thing. To be with somebody, connected with somebody, and you're both supposed to be there to help each other. And every time you suggest something or every time you say something, it's like you don't know what you're talking about. You it don't matter. And they got the last say so. Another one is being supportive. Offer encouragement and assistance. Make others feel valued and heard. Sometimes you may not be able to do a darn thing, not one thing. But what you can do is sit there and listen. Me working at a veterans hospital, I have come to realize that a lot of those veterans come and they sit, and because they don't have anybody to talk to at home, sometimes all they want you to do, whether they're complaining or whether they're rejoicing, they just want you to sit there and listen to them. Even though you can't do one thing physically. So offering that support and support in your tone, how you talk. Jane comes to you, you know what? I am sick of the employees. I feel like I got too much work that I'm doing. And, I'm almost ready to quit. I'm ready to go off on somebody. That supportiveness sounds like, well, I am so sorry that you feel that way. And I don't ever want you to be here in a work environment and you have to come to work and feel like that. We deal with enough stuff outside. If I got to be somewhere for 8 hours, 10 hours, 12 hours, I at least want to come to my place of employment and have some peace and feel like I'm valued and my work matters. And I'm not just a number. I'm not just another employee. That's what encouragement and assistance looks like. That's what that looks like. Being positive. Have you ever talked to somebody that every time, even when you saying something good, or even when you trying to tell your friend or your spouse or your partner or even a family member, vent. I don't want to call it complaining. I want to call it venting. You're venting about what's going on, and they a negative Nancy and a negative Nate. You telling them, well, I've been putting in applications, ain't nobody calling me back. Here they go. Well, ain't no jobs out there right now, so I don't know what you gonna do. Girl, you better start being influenced, or you better start getting on social media. Nah. Positive has being optimistic, having a constructive and promoting uplifting environments and conversation. That looks like, you know what? I know you've been trying, and I know it may seem like ain't no jobs out here, but I'm telling you, you keep pressing because there's a blessing in your pressing. I'm telling you, be consistent because God works in your time of weakness. When you're down to nothing, God is up to something. Just hold on a little bit longer in the name of Jesus, because he's going to show up on time. That's what that look like. That's what that look like. Be patient. Going back to, you made your mind up that I'm going to have a conversation and that I'm going to go into it, not being negative. None of that. The police ain't going to get called. We ain't gonna get put out because I'm gonna go into this conversation making sure that we come out with some resolve. But when you get in it, the other person come with that negative tone, that defensiveness, that energy, that negative energy. And so, like God's offspring said through Proverbs 15:1, a soft answer turns away wrath. Because again, how you gonna keep on yelling at somebody and somebody being calm with you and patient? After a while, you ain't gonna keep on using that tone. You either gonna pipe down, kind sir and kind ma'am. You gonna pipe down, or you're going to remove yourself and you're gonna walk away. But that spirit, that solemn, sweet spirit of God, that is not about confusion and chaos, and he don't dwell in mess. Being patient, I'm telling you, can get the resolve you want in difficult conversations. Don't blow up when the other person is on 10. Don't match energy for energy. Even if you got to do a relax, relate, release from woosah, from Bad Boys, woosah. If you got to woosah before you respond to make sure that you stay calm and that your responses don't make somebody else defensive, because you want to make sure that they heard you. And I want to make this clear. You are not responsible for what somebody does once you tell them how you feel. It just is what it is. I'm stuttering because it's one of those, if you never walk away from a conversation with an apology, will you be okay with that? Will you be okay with that? Because again, you're patient and you're praying and asking God for the outcome to be resolution. But if you don't get it, you still have to stay calm, cool, and collect. What they say, don't let them see you sweat. Especially for the believer. Because you know what they'll do? They'll try to throw that up in your face and say, see, I told you that they had a nasty attitude. I told you that they was talking crazy. I told you that they was going to go in this meeting and act like A, B, and C and say X, Y, and Z. Yeah. The shepherd, Bishop Woods, Victor T. Woods said, and I'll never forget, and it sticks with me to this day, people are always going to have something to say. Don't give them nothing to talk about. People are always going to paint a picture about who you are, and what you do, but don't supply the paint. Don't give them ammunition to try to throw up your old self back up in your face. Because we have to die to self each and every day. And when you become a believer, when you become in the family of Christ Jesus, you become a new creature. And old things pass away. Meaning transformation starts to happen, my God. And the things that you used to do, you don't do no more. The things you used to say, you don't say no more. How you used to respond, you don't respond no more. And I'm going to give you an example about how you respond, and people will be amazed. People are asked, what's wrong with you? My kids used to do that to me. Because again, remember, I told you I used to be aggressive. I was that one that went from 0 to 100. And when I'm upset, I talk 100 miles a minute. 100 miles a minute without taking a breath. Without taking a breath. And so, with that being said, it was one of those, I had to realize that just because somebody is talking crazy to me, every battle ain't mine to address. Some things are left best alone. Or what they say, all all things don't require a response. If a lot of our young people would just grasp that right there, as we say, as we said here this week, this one, pick up what I'm putting down right there. A lot of conflict, social media beef, and killings would be dead, would be ceased. We wouldn't have it. We wouldn't have it. And so, if we, again, understand that everything don't need a response, and every battle you can't fight. Why? Because every battle, baby, you ain't gonna win. I don't care how big and bad you are, how much you can cut somebody's throat with your words, tear somebody down, make them feel bad because you was feeling bad. It just don't work. It don't work. And so being appreciative, a thank you goes a long way. Even if somebody is telling you that you are doing something that you do, who wants to hear something about our negative characteristics? Who wants to hear that we hurt somebody? I don't care how I don't care how nasty you are to people. You don't want to hear how you're treating people or how people perceive you in a negative light. And so, even if somebody does that, I want you to take this away. The next time somebody says, well, you're doing XYZ and I don't appreciate you the way you talk to me, say, I thank you for bringing that to my attention. I thank you for telling me how you felt. Do you know that goes a long way? That breaks down that animosity, that resentment, that discord that I had for you because of the way you treated me. Because now I feel like you see me. That's all anybody wants in a dialogue, in a conversation. I want to know that you see me and you hear me. And if you want that, know that the other person that's in this conversation with you wants the same thing. They want to know that they're being heard and that they're being seen. And so we have to make sure that we tell people just as simple as thank you. Expressing gratitude to strengthen your relationship. People don't say yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, thank you, and you're welcome. I used to tell my kids, say thank you. Because when people do stuff, they don't have to be nice to you. They don't have to do stuff. And if I'm always giving, and not that people want to run around and want a pat on the back, or people want somebody to beat on their chest and say, look what I did. But the acknowledgement of the effort and support and the encouragement and the understanding and the patience that you are giving somebody, or the assistance, whatever that looks like, in deed or word, a simple thank you goes a long way. It makes them and you and I feel like we are valued in the relationship. If you are connected in any kind of way with somebody and they don't bring value to your life, let them go. Let God and let go. I'm going to say that again. If they don't bring value into your relationship, some of us need to reevaluate our relationships and ask yourself, are they bringing value to my life? And if they're not, let go and let God. Let go and let God. I'm going to tell you another thing that I want to briefly touch on is that I don't think we take into consideration is our nonverbal cues. A lot of times we ain't got to say nothing while saying something all at the same time. That was good. Sometimes your silence speaks volumes. So be aware of your nonverbal cues. Are you avoiding eye contact? We sitting here trying to have a conversation, but you looking at everything else while you talking to me? You looking at the computer and I'm trying to have a serious conversation with you? That shows disinterest. Sometimes it may even be, if we're having a conversation and you're looking down, a lack of confidence. So it can mean an array of things. And why would you want someone to assume what that meant? Your nonverbal cues. You can be like, well, I was just putting my head down, and just listening. But to the person talking, it seemed that you were disinterested. And now what does that do? Here goes that emotional connection and communication. If I feel like you disinterested, now my voice tone raises. Now I start getting loud. And then loud goes into yelling. And then yelling goes into me arguing with you or belittling you. Do you cross your arms when you having difficult conversations? Because I know, especially when you cross your arms, you definitely got to give them one of these. And then you start turning up your lips. That tells somebody, whatever, I ain't trying to hear you. I'm just sitting here. It's going in one ear and out the other. Really, I'm just sitting here listening to you, waiting on you to get done so I can respond. You ain't listening to understand. You're listening to respond. You're not listening for resolution. You're listening for conflict. Do you roll your eyes? Ooh-wee. I know that used to be huge when I was growing up. Y'all, let me tell you this story. My mama she'll tell you. They used to have, we had VHSs because we had VCRs back in the day. You ain't have CDs and live streaming platforms. You had to go in the video store, rent a video for the weekend, 3-4 days, and you had to take it back. Okay. And so there was a store called Blockbusters. Okay. And I had a friend with me, and here I go trying to act big and bad in front of my friend. And my mama said something to me, and my tone wasn't how a child should respond. And I'm rolling my eyes, y'all. This is when you was able to discipline your kids without the police getting y'all. They used to have them little cutout. You know how you go to the movie theaters and they have the cutout of like the actor or of the movie. Y'all, she smacked me in my mouth so hard and knocked me all back into that little cardboard cutout. So the rolling of the eyes, that is totally disrespect. You let somebody roll their eyes at you, adult, especially kids, but adults and kids, the first thing you gonna say is, why you being disrespectful? Yeah. I don't see that no other way. We having a conversation, you rolling your eyes, that tells me, again, you ain't trying to hear nothing I got to say, and you being disrespectful. And that anything that's about to come out of your mouth ain't gonna be positive. Ain't gonna be positive. Or how about this? Nonverbal cues. If I'm talking to you and you ain't even saying nothing but you, that's louder than words. Remember this, y'all, when y'all having y'all next conversation, when you having your next disagreement, when you need to have that difficult conversation and you're trying to figure out a way to approach it so y'all don't argue, so y'all can at least have a conversation and get something resolved. Or how about I'm trying to tell you what you're doing wrong and you just turn away from me? And you expect me to be calm? You expect me not to respond in a manner as if to say, So you just gonna walk away from me? You just gonna turn your back, and then you gonna say, "Well, I was just going to get something out the refrigerator." But that ain't the time and the place to do that, because now you leaving room for misunderstanding. Now you leaving room for me not to trust you, to be able to talk to you and you have a decent conversation. These are all nonverbal cues that we have to be aware of. Because remember, sometimes your silence speaks volumes. Sometimes your body language and your face expressions speak volumes. That's one thing I'm learning. I've went from just because it's the truth don't necessarily mean I got to be the one to say it. Timing is everything. Going into prayer before you have a conversation is everything. But as much y'all as God is working on me, as much as I'm under construction with this mouth and my deliverance and how I say things and things in my tone, baby, it's my face expressions that I got to get under control. Because I may not say it, but my face is like a billboard on 38th Street that's lit up. One of them digital billboards that say, "I know you lying," or "What are they talking about? This ain't gonna work." So I have to learn, especially with my profession and my personal life, because of the communities I'm in, the circles and the tables that I may sit at. There are a lot of things that I may not agree with. There's a lot of things that people say, and I'm like, now you know that ain't right. You know that ain't true. You know you lying, and I hate a liar. I'll be the first one to say, tell somebody, you please don't lie. You know you lying. I don't. A self accountability with me. I'm not gonna let you lie. And well, I take that back, because sometimes I ain't got to tell you that I know you lying, because you know you lying, so ain't no need for me to tell you you lying. So I might not say nothing, but my face is saying, you know you lying, right? So I have to make sure that I watch my nonverbal cues. You got to make sure you watch your nonverbal cues, because what you're trying to convey may be misconstrued or misunderstood by the other party. So again, like I said earlier, if you're one that say, "Well, I'm just misunderstood. They don't understand what I'm trying to say." Check your body language and see if that's why they don't understand what you're trying to say. This is you just ain't getting my point. Well, you want to know why they're not getting your point? Check your tone and how you saying it. I guarantee you, if you went in there roughing stuff with your Afro puffs, rage, go ahead with your bad self, and that didn't work out for you, I promise you, if you do what I'm saying, and I got it from the word of God, if you do what I'm telling you to do, you're going to see a difference. And it may not be a difference in that person, but you're going to see a difference in you. You want to know if you're growing in some areas? Do you want to know if God is working on you? Because it may not be a physical change that you're seeing. Are you responding different to people? That's how you know that you have growth and maturity. Are you one that always got something to say and now you don't have to say it? God's working on you. If ain't nobody else gonna tell you that they see your growth, see your own growth. See your own growth. Because a little growth is better than no growth. Better than no growth. Last thing I want to hit on tonight is, and I think this is funny because we've talked about the communication styles, we've talked about the different tones that we use while communicating, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We talked about the nonverbal cues that sometimes is louder than words, and that you could be saying nothing and something all at the same time. Let's talk about text messages real quick. Because, see, text messages, as we know, globally gives us the opportunity to connect, to communicate with a vast amount of people across countries, across area codes, across zip codes. They get the message quickly, efficiently, and like I said, regardless of where you are, we're able to talk in real time and have conversations. Text messages can help maintain relationships long distances. It can provide clarification for or give details on things. But one thing that text messages do, we talking about tones, watch your tone. It it gives a lack of tone. And when I say lack of tone, with my notes say it provides a lack of tone in voice and nonverbal cues. That's why I'm old school. I don't like conversating through text. Call me so I can hear your voice and your tone, so I can see if you lying or not. Talk to me face to face so I can see through the windows of the soul, which is your eyes, what you really mean, what you really feel, how you really feel. And so, have you ever, and this is why I know I'm telling the truth, have you ever been multitasking and somebody sent you a text and the way you responded, they either said, "What are you talking about?" or "You never, that's not the question I asked," because you hurried up and read it and you misread it? You can't get the full context of what somebody may be saying or the urgency of something or the importance of something through a text message. You can mislead and there can be a misunderstanding because all you want to do is communicate through text message. Put something in all caps. What you gonna think they saying? Are they gonna be talking? Excuse me, y'all. If you put something in a text message that is in all caps and you use exclamation marks, does that mean you talking calmly, peacefully, and sweet? No, that means somebody is yelling at you, and that means right now, and it's important. Do it right now. Listen to me right now. Hear what I gotta say, because I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. But what if it was a mistake? What if I just had my cap lock on and forgot? And that's just how I typed, and everything was in. Here go the misunderstanding. Now I'm texting back saying, "Well, why you gotta yell about it?" And I gotta reread what I put because I'm like, "Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I wasn't yelling. I forgot my cap lock was on." Simple misunderstanding. Simple misunderstanding. The drawbacks to communicating only in, well, let me say this before I get there. I don't recommend you having difficult conversations through a text message. I don't recommend you trying to resolve a conflict, do reconciliation through a text message. Example, I have some young ladies that, my daughters are around, they talk to me, we're on FaceTime, we talking about the issues, and we just so happened the other day talking about communication, and they are having an issue within their sister circle group. Okay. And they are telling me, well, we keep on telling somebody how we feel and it just don't get no better, and I'm like, well, how did y'all meet? Like, was this face to face? No, through text messages. Time out. What? That's your first mistake. How you gonna have a serious conversation through text message? I said, that's like this example, you getting into it with your boyfriend or girlfriend and they break up with you through text message. That ain't something you do through text message. That's a conversation you have via face to face. Why? because there is some context that has to be given behind that conversation. There's some nonverbal cues that need to be seen, and you don't see that through a text message. And who can say everything they want to say, how they want to say it without leaving words out, which now the message is all construed because you didn't left a sentence out, you didn't left a word out. Now it's, oh, I didn't mean that. So now it's more confusion on top of more confusion because you don't want to have a face-to-face conversation and all you want to do is talk to me through text. You can go ahead with that. Hi, Yolanda. Hey, sis. You said that's where rectification takes place. Yeah. You can't have every communication through a text message. There is a time and a place to talk through text messaging. But be aware that if your tone is bad and your delivery is bad, 9 times out of 10 through a text message and you trying to communicate, it ain't you. Your point ain't gonna come across. Your point ain't gonna get land on where it need to land on. You ain't gonna get no resolution. You're not gonna get great dialogue. Not at all. Again, it is important that you make sure that when you communicate, that you are making sure that you are aware of any of those communication styles we talked about. Most importantly, be aware of your tone. How are you talking to somebody? Because the last thing you want to do is have somebody misunderstand where you coming from. The last thing you want to do is be pouring your heart out to somebody. Being vulnerable, that's the word. Being vulnerable, men and women, especially men and women. We want them to be vulnerable, but you and I have to create a safe space for somebody to be vulnerable. For somebody to feel safe enough, regardless of whatever their communication style is, to have a productive conversation. Thank you for the like. Thank you for the like. If you got any questions before we leave out of here, put it in the comments and let's answer it before we get out of here. You got to make sure that you watch your tone. Because what did I say? The word of the Lord, his word says that life and death lies in the power of the tongue. But I'm telling you now that tone lies in the power. Life and death lies in the power of your tone. Life and death lies in the power of your tongue, and life and death lies in the power of your tone. The way you speak to me, is it life or is it death? Or are you going to have me saying, who you talking to? You better watch your tone. That was the title for today. Watch your tone. Watch who you talking to. As soon as you say that, you know it's on and popping. On and popping. As well as making sure that you communicate clear, direct, and make sure that your tone through a text message is conveying what you want. And I highly recommend and suggest that if you want to have a serious conversation, don't do it through text message. I'm telling you, you can tell a lot about a person and where they are by looking in the eyes, which is the window to the soul. Your eyes can tell a lot. And if you think I'm lying, here's your example. Somebody will come up to me, Crystal, are you okay? No, are you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. Well, you look sick in your eyes. Have anybody ever told you that? You look sick in your eyes because your eyes have a look. It is a window into your soul. Come on, elder elect. You said, and then throw it back up in your face. That's right. And I talked about that earlier. Throw it back up in your face. See, I told you you wasn't saved. I told you they ain't know. Yeah. And again, people are always going to paint a picture, but don't supply the paint. Don't give them the bullets to put in the gun because you don't know how to talk to people. But yet you call yourself a Christian. Yet you call yourself a brother or a sister. Yet you call yourself being in covenant with me. Yet you say you love me and you're my partner. But you don't know how to talk to me. You mishandle me with your words. How many people have you mishandled with your words and your tone and your communication? I want you to think about that when we leave here tonight. How many people? I didn't say who hurt you or said something to you to make you respond. That's not what I said. I'm talking about self-accountability and what you did. I want you to think about how many people or who you've hurt with your words, your communication, and your tone. And the next time you find yourself in that same situation or that same thing, crossing that same bridge, I want you to respond different. I want your nonverbal cues to be different. I want your communication style, not that it may be different, but be aware of the person in front of you. Don't match energy for energy. Watch your tone. Watch your tone. I got some questions for you, and I want you to think about it. I heard somebody say it, and it was good to me. Would you sacrifice your point of view for your relationship? Meaning, can your point of view not be the most important to let the person across from you feel valued? Because you always got to be right. You always got to be the one that know what's going on and don't nobody else got nothing to say. Your word is God and truth and fact, and whatever else somebody say is null and void. Could you sacrifice your point of view for your relationship? And then the last one is to get your point across. Do you want to be right and by yourself? Because that's what'll happen to you. If only thing you want to do is to get your point across through the conversation, if all you want to do is be right and prove that you was right all the time, even though you may have been right, even though you weren't the one that caused the harm, even though you wasn't the one that threw the rock, would you be able to sacrifice your point of view of being right for your relationship, or would you constantly want to be wrong and be by yourself? That's something to think about, y'all. What I tell you, Arsenio Hall make you say, make you say, Guys, I thank you for hanging with me this evening. Listen, y'all better stay with me. The month of April, I am getting some things lined up. I got some dynamic people that I'm trying to get on this show, even for the month of March, these last couple of weeks that we have. But April, y'all better buckle y'all seatbelts. It is going to be the month of Divine Nine. I'm calling it Greek month. We're going to have AKAs. We're going to have Kappas. We're going to have Qs. We're reaching out to hopefully to some Sigma Gamma Rhos. We want some Deltas. If you are able and you want, and I've named and iotas and some other ones I ain't even named. If you see this and you want to be a part of the conversation, the month of April, and if it get real good, we'll carry it on the month of May, about Divine Nine and Greek life. We want to talk about legacy. We want to talk about community. We're going to talk about brother and sisterhood. But most importantly, one of the things that I want to dive into that's really being on the radar across the Christian community, across the fraternity and sorority community, the spiritual aspect of fraternities and sororities. That has been a huge topic of conversation for Christians and people that are Divine Nine living the Greek life. So please make sure that you stay tuned every Thursday, to make sure that we are here to uplift and upbuild one another to help us to get to our next. Because when we get better, then we can help the next generation become better. And that's what it's all about. Y'all, we in the fourth quarter. If you in my generation, we're in the fourth quarter. And I want to know that the legacies that are being left behind, the future doctors and nurses and pastors and politicians and medical professionals and firemen and policemen, that we are building up a generation that has character and integrity, and that they came from a legacy. It may not be their family legacy, but they came from a legacy, that we left them something to work with and to navigate through in this life. I'm looking forward to April 2 as well. Kim Christmas, I'm looking forward to it as well, and I am excited. Again, thank you everyone for hanging with me this evening, talking about Watch Your Tone. I pray that some of the tools that I've given you, some of the examples that I've given you, that you are doing a self-examination, and the next time that you have to have conversation, that you see yourself operating in a different vein. You see yourself putting on the fruits of the Spirit and letting God be that mediator in your conversations and your communication, to make sure that you're no longer misunderstood, to make sure that you feel valued in your conversations, to make light, or not to make, to make sure that you are not only heard, but you are seen. And so God bless you, everyone. I pray that you have a great weekend. And until next Thursday, may God keep you, may God cover you, and may God continue to bless you. Everyone have a great night, and I thank you.